This person's basically asking, is narcissism genetic? And if you're new here, I share my personal experiences having suffered from narcissistic abuse in both intimate family relationships to help other people heal. And the reason they're asking this is because I have said many times in my videos that I have a narcissistic mother, I have a narcissistic brother, I also have a narcissistic ex-stepfather who's no longer in the picture, I have a codependent father who's divorced from my narcissistic mother, but I have many siblings. I'm actually one of 7. And at this point, there's really only one that I'm truly convinced is a narcissist. But yeah, this person's asking, how is it possible that you can have a sibling that's a narcissist and you aren't, or others aren't? There's a lot of research that's still being done out there about narcissistic personality disorder. But most experts agree it's a combination of things that make someone a narcissist. It's a mix of environmental, social, cultural, as well as some genetic factors. Remember, you can have some narcissistic traits, but not have narcissistic personality disorder. And generally speaking, children of narcissists usually become one of two things. Either become narcissists themselves or have really strong narcissistic traits, or they become a people pleaser. I definitely fall more in line with the people pleaser part. I've worked hard to overcome my people pleasing tendencies. But yeah, unfortunately this time, narcissistic personality disorder is one of the least studied personality disorders that exist. Researchers are trying to determine why is it that someone can grow up in an environment and become a narcissist, and someone else can grow up in the same environment and not become a narcissist. But basically, children are learning from their parents. So if there is a narcissistic parent who is erratic and is neglectful, excessively critical, exploits them, has violent outbursts, if a child grows up in that environment, they are likely to learn those behaviors and sort of show those behaviors in their adulthood, which is going to push them more towards actually having those narcissistic traits and having that narcissistic personality disorder in the future. Or one of the other personality disorders in that cluster B, which are borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. So yeah, growing up with a parent who is a narcissist does not guarantee that the child will become a narcissist, but it certainly creates the conditions that make it likely that someone can become a narcissist. Usually the childhood of someone that has narcissistic personality disorder, their childhood was full of neglect, emotional or physical abuse, and a very dysfunctional home life. But sure, there are plenty of people who had very traumatic childhoods that grow up to be very healthy adults. So it's not necessarily like 100% correlation. Again, there's still a lot of research that they're doing in this area. On the flip side, children could have had the exact opposite kind of an environment. They could have had parents that were shielding them from any kind of failure, shielding them from criticism, not allowing them to suffer the consequences of their actions. That can also develop into the grandiose narcissist. And generally, narcissists struggle to have any kind of empathy for other people, and they don't really understand how their own behavior affects people around them. And then knowing all of this information, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, the narcissists in my life, they did have really dysfunctional, really terrible childhood, a really terrible life. And the victims tend to think, oh, I should feel sorry for them. I should cut them more slack. And while you might feel sorry for them, it is not your responsibility to cut them slack. They have turned into grown-ass people who are responsible for their own actions and behaviors, and they're responsible for how they treat other people. But they will do their best to make sure that everyone views them as the victim for their entire lives. At their core, in their inside, they lack a strong sense of self. They have really low self-esteem, believe it or not. And they will do everything they can to make sure they are not held accountable for their actions. But yeah, it's totally possible for two people to grow up in the same environment and one to become a narcissist and one to not be a narcissist.